all mushrooms are created equal. Some have more powerful components than others on different illnesses. When you look at psilocybin, it is just a mushroom with some psychoactive compounds. Yes, psilocybin is going to help with everything that functional mushrooms can help with. But saying that, somebody shouldn't be doing it every single day. I mean, people should be using psilocybin as a healing component.
Welcome to the Mindfulness Experience podcast. My name is Keith Fiveson. We're an official podcast for the Psychedelic Science 2023 convention. On this podcast, I'm thrilled to welcome back Ms. JME Bonfiglio. In this engaging episode, we delve into the world of functional mushrooms and discuss the intricate processes of bringing them to market. We also touched upon the production of magical mushrooms and their legalization journey. Throughout her professional career, JME has worked with renowned companies like Host Defense, witnessing firsthand the challenges consumers face in determining the origins and quality of mushroom supplements. Driven to establish higher standards, she founded WholeSun Wellness in 2017. Her company offers clinically potent whole mushroom extracts with verified therapeutic compounds. Free of additives or artificial ingredients, she maintains the traceability and transparency throughout the entire process. Through WholeSun Wellness, JME offers a program that improves access to mushroom-based complementary medicine, providing medicinal mushroom extracts at reduced cost to individuals facing health challenges or their clinicians. Under JME's leadership, WholeSun Wellness continues pushing the boundaries of industry standards, and we talk a lot about that on this podcast, as she strives to transform how mushrooms are grown, processed, and sold. As JME states, our industry has lost its way. We shouldn't focus on who can monopolize the market by mass producing cheap products. We need to offer the best in everything we do. It's time to get back to our roots and collaborate to make changes that create a better world for all of us. I concur. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. JME Bonfiglio to the Mindfulness Experience podcast. Hey, I am here with JME Bonfiglio, and I am so happy to see you again. We met at the Wonderland Conference in Miami, and I was really looking forward to our conversation today. You're going to be at the Psychedelic Science Convention, the 2023 convention, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there as well. How are you? What is going on?
Oh, I'm great. Just being busy with all the mushroom stuff I'm doing, all the different projects and all the stuff that we're bringing into the market. And yeah, just very busy, but happy.
Now the mushroom stuff. So most people don't know, but I think it's going to be very important. You're going to be at the Mushroom Summit, which is the functional side at the 2023 convention. And can we talk about, what you're going to be doing and what your company is all about? Because, you straddle two sides of the conversation. And I just want to understand it because many people don't understand what functional mushrooms are, and they also don't understand from a very basic biological viewpoint why mushrooms are so important, why they're so important for us as human beings.
Exactly. So first off, with the conference, they are having me speak on navigating supply chain and quality. Mm-hmm. And going back on functional mushrooms, when you say functional mushrooms, you think of like also culinary, food, medicine. So it's like shiitake, lion's mane, maitake, reishi, cordyceps. Those are your functional mushrooms. They're all very therapeutic, they're healing, and they're high in vitamins and minerals. Mushrooms are all mushrooms, even psilocybin. It is all a fungi, except, you look at the psychedelic side, it has more of a psychoactive compound where your functional mushroom does not. So people should be taking functional mushrooms every day as a preventative or just to help, with illness or anything else that's going on. But my role at the Mushroom Summit, to give you a little breakdown without going on forever about my company, is the reason why they're having me speak about quality and supply chain navigation is because back in 2017, when I started my company, I first started as a retail product, like a retail brand that was in the health food stores and clinics. We actually got into 46 cancer clinics, psychiatry, family medicine, and then into stores. Within this short period of time that I started my company, I did what everyone did. I had a middleman that was supplying me my mushrooms, which wasn't jiving for me. I wanted to know the farmers. I wanted to know how it was being grown, the genetics, the process, everything. So then it came to be where all of a sudden I'm a retail brand, and now I'm my own supply chain globally. And then now I'm a US supplier. So over the last 7 years, I've integrated from a retail brand to making my own global supply chain in 6 different countries with independent farmers that we're contracted with, to over the last 4 years integrating and starting the largest commercial scalable medicinal mushroom operation here in the US. And so, and also too, the reason why I did that is to be traceable, transparent, to be consistent with our genetics, our growth, supporting farmers, giving different kind of sustainability, especially here in the US. And so that's pretty much what I'll be speaking on at the Mushroom Summit, is why it's so important to be inundated with your supply chain, to know where the products are being grown, how they're being grown. Mushrooms really will not give you any benefit if they're not being grown properly. You can't just take a mushroom, a dried mushroom, and grind it up and expect to get all these active compounds and all this, amazing healing properties that you're going to see on different clinical research studies. They really have to be grown properly on their hardwoods. They've got to be broken down through extraction, and the genetics make a difference too. So starting my company, it's all been this big encompass. And honestly, Keith, when I started, I never thought I was going to be my own supply chain. I never thought that I was going to have US farms, a US extraction facility now, plus these global farms that we work with. It just all happened really quick, all because I wanted that vertical integration, and I wanted to be connected to every process that was happening from the start to finish.
Well, you clearly love mushrooms, and you've been doing this for 6 years, and then you worked with Paul Stamets and his company as well.
Yes.
And I'm interested in, you started doing some work with cancer clinics. And, many people who are listening to the podcast who don't really understand mushrooms, might just say, okay, well, wait, hey, I know shiitake, I know portobello, I know red, mushrooms that I buy in the store, and I enjoy tasting them. But why are we taking mushrooms to cancer clinics? What is all the spin about functional mushrooms? What I don't understand. I don't understand. Is it just some woo-woo? Is it just some kind of way to go ahead and have us buy mushrooms that we can just go to the store at? Can we unpack that a little bit more? Because I think it's really important to understand not only the genetics, but also to understand our propensity as human beings to those genetics. And then also, you brought up, I think, a really important area, which is the traceability, the transparency, and the sustainability and the quality. And I also am involved as in an area where we're looking at, the tainted products that are coming into the country and the issues that we're having. So maybe we can kind of look at those conversations and unpack them, if you're okay with that.
Yes, I definitely want to talk about the supply chain
Mm-hmm.
issues because this is really important. But
Mm-hmm.
we'll go back to like the
Mm-hmm.
difference between, the mushrooms you're buying in the store to a medicinal mushroom and how it's being processed.
Mm-hmm.
We are very connected to mushrooms. We are closer to DNA with mushrooms than we are plants. When we take these kind of mushrooms, and again, I'll get into the process, but when we're using functional mushrooms, I always tell people, look at them as like little scrubbers. They go into our system, they're a therapeutic food, they start detoxifying us, breaking us down, rebuilding, regenerating, and repairing, because of all the therapeutic active compounds that are in these mushrooms. So
Mm-hmm.
like let's talk about shiitake. So somebody goes into the store and buys shiitake. Yes, they're getting some benefits from shiitake, especially vitamin D, high B vitamins and nutrients, but just eating shiitake isn't going to give you those therapeutic active compounds. You would have to eat a lot of shiitake to compare to an extracted shiitake, and you still would never achieve those benefits. When it comes to cancer clinics, when I started my company, I never thought that clinics would embrace my product. I always was like, oh, you know what, naturopathics and health food stores. It was totally the opposite. We only work with 2 naturopathic offices. Every other doctor that has our products are just MDs, oncologists, family, psychiatry. And the reason why they started bringing our mushrooms in, not just because of the potency and the therapeutic aspect, but in research. And this is not new research. You can go back on PubMed, which is the best source to go to, is PubMed. There's research clear back from the 80s and 90s of clinicals that are being done, especially in Asia, of what these mushrooms are doing to our body. Like you look at lion's mane. It got really popular here in the US for nerve growth factor. It is a mushroom that stimulates nerve growth. Nothing else does that. Tremella does, which is another mushroom, but they were able to show this in clinical studies. And it's because of the active compounds in the mushrooms that are stimulating this. So again, if someone went into the store and bought lion's mane and sauteed it up, which it tastes delicious, they're not going to get that nerve growth factor going on. They're not going to get those benefits because it's got to be extracted. So if somebody is new to mushrooms and they're like, oh, I just feel like this might be a gimmick. Why would I buy this? I'm already taking 20 something supplements a day. The best thing I always tell people, do your research. Go to don't go to Google and type in stuff. Go to like actual accredited research, especially if you're using it for medicinal reasons. But then also, see how it feels in your body. Try it for a while and then stop taking it, because I can almost guarantee when people take these mushrooms, they can be the most healthiest person. They are going to notice a difference, especially with illness, and again, and being educated that you can't go eat a dried mushroom or culinary mushroom and expect these same results. You really need to make sure the mushrooms have been extracted and broken down. Mushrooms have a really thick fibrous wall called chitin. If we don't break that chitin down, our bodies can't break it down. It's not bioavailable. And then we also can't release those medicinal components in the mushroom that are truly therapeutic, if that makes sense. So I always tell people, it's like, this is also a way you can look at it, is food is medicine. Mushrooms are food. Even the ones that you really couldn't saute and eat, like reishi and all that, and chaga looks like a big clunk of, bark. You're not going to be able to eat those. But if you look at any kind of food, most of the foods are therapeutic and they have the high vitamins and nutrients. And a lot of other foods have medicinal components as well. So I always tell anyone, if they're skeptical, just look at it as food. Food is medicine.
No, that's beautiful. And when we get into the mushrooms themselves, each of the varieties, if you will, the families have specific potencies, specific medicinal qualities. And you've been able to go ahead and through your supply chain be able to build this, traceable, transportable, sustainable, and be able to go ahead and isolate some of those properties. Can you talk about that? Because you started to talk about, in terms of, whether or not it's lion's mane, or
Yeah.
I know cordyceps has a different, quality to it. So
Yeah.
maybe we can talk a little bit about that for people who are kind of wondering, okay, what do I do, and how do I use these to my benefit? And I know you've made it simple through your company as well.
Yeah.
So maybe that might be a good stepping point, and then we can get into the whole
This,
idea of the supply chain. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So, I'll hurry and talk about 7 different mushrooms really quick that are going to
Mhm.
be the main staple mushrooms that you're going to
Mhm.
see. Like reishi. Reishi is a calming mushroom. It balances cortisol levels. It's great for female support. You can take it at night, and it's the only mushroom that they've shown in clinicals to help with insomnia. So it helps you sleep better. Reishi is not a product that you're going to saute up or cook because it is hard and dry. And so if somebody didn't go into the health food store and buy, like, what we offer are powders or capsules, they could go take the reishi from the Chinese market or something and make a tea and let it steep for 24 hours. You can make your own medicine. You can make tinctures out of these mushrooms, but you have to do something like that to at least get the benefits. And again, going back to our products and most of the products on the market, they usually come into a tincture, powder, or capsule form. So you mix it with food, whatever you're eating or drinking, or you take the capsules, or you do the liquid formation. Cordyceps is like the get up and go mushroom. It's for energy endurance. It's #1 for men's health, for testosterone, libido, stamina, energy, cardiovascular. It's great for oxygen intake, post workout. It's also great for infertility, both in men and women. It truly is a mushroom that would be a great replacement of somebody that's drinking coffee all the time. It's going to give you that energy. It is a stimulant, but it's not going to make you feel all weird. Lion's mane is definitely focused on brain health, acuity, mental clarity, brain fog, people that struggle with ADHD, or any kind of, anxiety, PTSD. It's really going to change the way your receptors are working. Dopamine, serotonin. It's a great anti-inflammatory, and it's also great for your digestive system. I know I'm going a little fast. I'm just trying to cover them all.
No, please. Yeah. Just, I want to get to the,
and then by the way, all these mushrooms, we could spend hours talking about their benefits, but I'm just kind of giving you little pinpoints.
Beautiful.
Maitake is awesome. It is truly like the holy mushroom that's really worshipped in Asia. It is great also for infertility. People that have problems with their metabolism, weight loss, is going to be great for that. Sugar cravings. It's also been with people with type 2 diabetes. It helps with glucose levels. Now, some of these mushrooms you wouldn't not take with medication, like reishi with a blood thinner. It could cause some serious reactions, so you could not take it. Maitake, if someone's on a sugar pill, they need to consult with their doctor before getting off their medication, so then that way they don't drop too low. But maitake in history has the most research, by the way, with cancer treatments, which you can see on PubMed. It is one of the strongest immune fighting mushrooms besides shiitake. I know a lot of people feel like reishi is, all these mushrooms are great for the immune system, but some work other parts of your body better than others, right? But maitake is a beautiful mushroom. Shiitake is truly now my favorite mushroom. It's the only mushroom that works every single system in your body, including your brain. I feel like shiitake is the #1 brain mushroom, not lion's mane, that's been glorified here in the United States, which is a great mushroom. But as we age, we can't hold nutrients as well in our system, especially in our brain. They have proven that shiitake continues to introduce those nutrients and keeps them in our system. It also stimulates brain tissue regrowth, great acuity, focusing, everything. And it's the one mushroom that's the highest in B vitamins and D, vitamin D. So it's an overall, like, if anyone just wanted to get into the mushroom space and try something, shiitake would be #1. Chaga is definitely all for gut health, digestion, upper, lower, inflammation. It's been shown in studies for like Crohn's, colitis, IBS, people that have constipation, people that just don't have a healthy gut, right? That is #1. You can take it in the evening, and it's going to also repair different, like your gut lining and all that. It's also great for, blood sugar, energy, stamina. I mean, again, a lot of these mushrooms mimic one another. And then we have a turkey tail. Turkey tail got really popular back in 2014 when the FDA approved it for breast cancer research, clinical trials. It is one of the number one mushrooms they do use in cancer clinics for breast cancer treatment, because it's a strong anti-inflammatory, but immune. It breaks down tumors. Just all the research is phenomenal on turkey tail. And they also just came out with another study that taking turkey tail is better than taking a probiotic. So it's also really great for your gut as well. I know that I didn't really cover a lot of these mushrooms well, but there is so much great information online about each of these mushrooms. And I always tell people, if you're going through clinical stuff or you're just wanting a preventative, you should be taking these every day, and pick the one that is jiving with your body. If you're worried about brain stuff, try lion's mane or shiitake. If you're having gut issues all the time, try the chaga, test out and listen to your body and see what's going to work, but then try it for a while and stop taking it. And definitely dive into PubMed. PubMed is a great resource to find clinicals, to see how the chemistry and everything of the breakdown of what these mushrooms actually do to our cells and our body and rebuilding.
Well, it's beautiful. And I want to dive into the supply chain aspect, but I do want to say that as a 2-time cancer survivor, I worked with Dr. Keith Block out in Evanston, Illinois. And the second time around, I went on to a vegetarian diet, and I used a whole bunch of supplements, and maitake was one of them. And continued to go ahead and do that. I'm glad to say that I've been in remission for quite a while over the last 25 years.
That's awesome.
And, which is awesome. And, I am concerned though about the supply chain aspects of all this, because one of the things that I'm very aware of, certainly as we go to the stores and as we start to take a look at the internet and the availability of a lot of the product that's out there, is whether or not the product is, truly
what it says it is.
What it says it is. I mean, and I do know that a lot of this product, based on shipping or storage, often loses its strength and its potency. So I'm just wondering, can you speak to that, given the fact that you've now consolidated your supply chain and some of the challenges that you're dealing with along that line?
Yeah, I want to hurry and talk about the potency really quick before I jump in. If a product is done right, grown right, the mushrooms are grown right and processed right, it will last for a long time. Here in the state of Utah, because we are an actual certifier ourselves, NOP, manufacturer, farmer, processor, we have different guidelines, and the state requires us to do shelf stability testing on our products. We test it out at 5 years. So that's potency as well. So I really believe if companies do things right, it's going to last a lot longer than, an herb that's going to deplete over time. But going back to the supply chain, one of the biggest reasons I started my own supply chain and started working directly with the farmers is because I wanted to make sure that the mushrooms were being grown right. They were on the right substrates. They were being processed right. Because the biggest thing I was seeing coming from overseas was fruiting bodies dried, and then they had additives in there. So it wasn't even a pure mushroom extract. It was a dried powder with dextrin added in a mass amount. And that has been a big, big confliction right now. And it's still, there hasn't been regulations put in place. I've been fighting for these regulations for years now, especially when it comes to dextrin. Because, if somebody is going to buy overseas, that's fine. Most of our mushrooms forever have come out of Asia, right? But the problem is there's no regulations or control. So all hundreds of companies in Asia right now are like, oh, we produce mushrooms. We have this, we have that, we have herbs. And there's a lot of companies over there that are phenomenal. But the major issue is that we have been seeing is most of what they call a fruiting body extract, which is the whole mushroom, not focused on the mycelium, is being imported in with nothing but additives and isn't even an extract. And people are paying, anywhere from $18 to maybe $40, and it's not even a quality product. And a lot of end customers, being a bulk supplier, this is what I educate our customers on. You need to ask these questions. You need to see the traceability. You need to be aware of where it's coming from. And you also need to start testing and not just taking someone's word that you're getting an extract. You cannot buy a quality extract for $20. It's just not possible. When we started producing here in the US, one of our biggest challenges is the cost. It is more expensive to produce here, but people are willing to pay it because they want a quality product, right? They don't want additives, dextrin, starch, and all this other stuff. Because going into the store, right now, I've always been saying we're in a shroom boom. Being a supplier, we get so many customers reaching out, wanting to buy our mushrooms to put into their products. Everybody wants to come out with a mushroom product right now, and it's only going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger, but there's no regulations. So you can buy whatever you want, put it in your product, and then call it a mushroom extract, and it really isn't. And nobody is making these companies accountable. And it's not just the companies, nobody's holding these suppliers accountable. That's where it all starts. So I really one of the biggest things I'm going to also be talking about at the Mushroom Summit is we have got to make these regulations globally in place. Because if you're going to be sourcing out of the country, that is totally fine. But you need to know what is in that product. Because as say you go in the store, Keith, you have the wall of mushrooms, as I call it. Say you didn't know anything about mushrooms. You went on TikTok or Instagram, like, oh, wow, these are so cool. I want to try lion's mane because I need some brain, function or whatever. You go into this wall of mushrooms, and most consumers go to the cheapest product that they find because most people are living paycheck to paycheck. And they just can't afford a lot of how much health supplements cost nowadays. So they buy something, they think they're getting a fruiting body extract, and really what they're getting is nothing but a dried powder with a whole bunch of additives. So they're not even breaking it down. They're not getting the benefits of what they're seeing out there. And then what happens, that person's like, oh, you know what? It didn't even work for me. Then they're ruined on mushrooms and they don't want to try it again. So my biggest thing as a supplier and even as a retail brand is we want that accountability and that traceability, because everybody deserves to have a good product at the end of the day. And it's great to have competition. There shouldn't be one company trying to monopolize the market. There's amazing companies out there. They should all have good products and have those ethos of look, I started this company to help people. It's not just about money and buying cheap material and then doing fancy marketing. I get a little heated on this topic because I'm so passionate about hey, mushrooms truly save people's lives. I mean, it changed my whole life. They wanted to remove my colon. This is back when I was working with Paul at Host Defense. I was taking chaga because they wanted to remove my colon, and I was 90 pounds. 4 months of rectal bleeding, wasn't able to absorb anything. And, I've been now in remission from it for over 8 years. And it all started with chaga, and the funny thing is I don't even take chaga anymore. So I'm really passionate about the healing properties, but I'm also very passionate about why can't we just be sustainable and make sure everything we do is doing the best we can and making it so other people can get these benefits and always have that consistency and not being all over the place oh, well, should I buy this one for 20 or should I buy this for 40? There needs to be regulations.
Right. Potency has power, and the problem is, of course, once the results are there, everyone starts to believe, oh, I can just go out to the store and get some mushrooms and I'll get the same results, without taking into account the potency, without taking into account the actual process of taking it, the inputs, the process, the outputs. So as we start to take a look at your business, I'm really very intrigued because we started to talk about this, traceable, transportable, sustainable, and we're really talking about the functional side of the product and the potency that it provides.
Yes.
And you breaking it down in terms of the various mushrooms. And I want to move towards the psychedelic side of things, because we're at the Psychedelic Science 2023 convention, and there is the science and the research around this. And again, we're still with mushrooms. They just plants that grow out of the ground, but yet then now we have this whole area of psilocin or psilocybin, which really then now becomes a whole different ball game. And my understanding is there's about 112 different varieties or so of mushrooms that have psilocin in them. And I'm just wondering, or psilocybin, I'm just wondering, can you break that down for me, and what's different? I mean, am I still getting the brain capability, or is it hitting on different neuroreceptors to a, let me let you go ahead. I don't want to lead the witness.
So I always tell people fungi is fungi, right? All mushrooms are created equal. Some have more powerful components than others on different illnesses. When you look at psilocybin, it is just a mushroom with some psychoactive compounds that are truly healing. That is a different kind of compound and a different way of breaking it in our system than it is going to be from a functional mushroom. I always tell people, because right now psilocybin obviously is really big. We look at the conference that's happening, it's probably the biggest in the US history. But the problem is my viewpoint on psilocybin to functional, you should be doing both of them. You shouldn't be biased and say, I'm only going to do microdosing because this is what I've heard is going to be the best for my, drug addiction, rehab, neuropathy, or, anxiety or cancer or PTSD. Yes, psilocybin is going to help with everything that functional mushrooms can help with in a different way. But again, it has that more, psychoactive part of it that really triggers, I feel, a lot more in our receptors and in our brain. But saying that, somebody shouldn't be doing it every single day. I mean, people should be using psilocybin as a healing component, as a treatment, but not as a daily regimen. They should be taking the functional mushrooms every day as a preventative, and then bringing in the microdosing or whatever they're doing with the psilocybin as more as a treatment-based system to really be aggressive, to connect with our system where some of these functional mushrooms cannot repair where psilocybin can. So I really, on that spectrum, I feel like they both go hand in hand. I don't feel like psilocybin is better than functional mushrooms, and I don't feel like functional mushrooms are better than psilocybin. I feel like they go together, but you need to treat it as the psilocybin is more aggressive for different conditions because of the components in the mushroom that are not in our functional side. Does that make sense?
Sure, it makes total sense. And just as a cautionary tale here, we're just talking about, functional mushrooms, which can be used every day. And then from a cautionary warning viewpoint, we're not advocating that you go out and you go ahead and buy a whole bunch of psilocybin and, these magic mushrooms and then start dosing yourself to see how it is. What we're really saying within that context is the research is showing that there are substantial benefits to using mushrooms, and specifically being able to go ahead and deal with things like end of life, stress, trauma, be able to go ahead and, deal with reenactment or issues of, rumination or stress or actually depression, treatment-resistant depression. So there are things that really work with, and we do advise if you are doing that, you have to go to a state that is legal, and you do have to. It is advised to work with a therapist or a doctor that is working in this area so that they can go ahead and evaluate you, because there are contraindications, high blood pressure, things like that people just need to be wary of.
Yes.
That said,
One of the biggest things I've noticed, at least with my company, because part of my company is on that side of the spectrum as well, but we're not on the side of the spectrum of like where we're going to mass produce products. We are focused on the genetics, the strains, the growing, the processing, and the testing, just like we are with the functional side. Because again, you know, we're in this shroom boom and every company is wanting to come out, especially on the psychedelic side. They all want to be a part of it. They all are looking at like, hey, we want to get a product out. Some companies are already putting products out, but there again is no regulations. And I'm not talking about FDA regulations. I'm talking about just regulations as, you know, a mushroom industry to make sure good stuff is being put out. Not, you know, it doesn't have to be regulated through the government, but it's like the ethos and being like, hey, whatever I do, I'm going to do the best at and make sure that the consumer is going to get the best medicine that they can get. And so on the psilocybin side, you know, I'm fighting for like, no, there's companies right now that are just growing it and then selling it as a dried powder. They're not testing. We have no idea what's in there. I mean, and other countries and states are allowing it, right? I mean, here in Utah, it's not even allowed. And I don't even know when it will be. We're a different state. But like in Oregon, you know, where our facility is, our lab, there is production going on in Oregon. And there's still like, yes, it costs a lot of money to do it, but no one is putting down the hammer of saying, well, how is this being done? What genetics are being used? Are there things being mixed into this? Especially when a doctor is now doing clinicals with patients and doing, you know, microdosing and stuff. That doctor needs to be aware too of the process and what's in the products that they're giving to these patients. Because what if somebody has a bad reaction? An allergic reaction because there was an additive added to it, you know? I would hate to see that happen. You know, companies, like people always ask us, you know, especially on the recreational side, and I'm all about the clinical side. You know, if somebody wants to do stuff and open their mind, you know, I'm not going to go tell them to do that. I'm like very clinical based. I really look at mushrooms as a very healing, especially the psychoactive ones, that it really does need to be maintained and legal. This is one of the reasons why we haven't produced our microdosing products, because we won't, not until we have that legality, you know, and we're working with actual clinicians that are here in the US. We are just right now in the research mode. The space of R&D and making sure that when we do get that green light, that we're producing and offering the best we can and also making it affordable. I'm really afraid of the cost that's going to come with this, that people are going to be charging and then an average consumer can't even afford it. So I'm really hoping that we can get some sustainability there as well and not just make it about how much money you're going to be making.
Well, I think that's absolutely there's great admiration to that. And I think along that line, you bring up a very important question about the quality and the potency around it and the purity, you know, because as we well know, if you go in, you know, you call it the mushroom boom. I think that area of purity is so important, because you can take less of a product if it's pure and get a better spend as much better effects. And then I do believe also this whole idea, I was on a call earlier, you know, in terms of the press and the, you know, the panacea that a lot of people are thinking that somehow just take you know, what was the psychedelic, angelic, or if you want to fly on wings, you want to be angelic, just take a psychedelic. That's, you know, the Albert, I think it was the Aldous Huxley quote. But let me ask you a question along that line. When you look at your products and your vision, what are, you know, some of the plans for WholeSun Wellness, and, you know, what are your goals for the future? You have some exciting projects coming up,
Yes.
things I know
Yep.
we're gonna see each other in Denver, but tell me about
Mhm.
some of the things that you're working on.
So, yes, I have a lot of great stuff happening. And as for my future, I'm hoping to turn all three of my companies into an employee-owned companies.
Great.
So yeah, I really think it's important that people that work with us get equity shares and have a good life and sustainability as well. So that is my future goal, at least on the
Fantastic.
company side. But right now, again, I started as a retail brand. Now I'm a supplier, vertically integrated. At the psychedelic conference, we actually have a booth there showing our US extracts, our mushrooms, more on the supply side than on my retail brand.
Mhm.
But I do have some two cool new things happening, and I will announce it on your podcast first.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Good.
um,
Thank you.
yeah,
Let's hear it.
we're pretty excited. So I did announce recently that we are launching our mushroom mycolights. So I have created the first ever effervescent dissolvable mushroom tablet
Hmm.
with electrolytes added into it, not the other way around. They are awesome. And down the road, we'll probably do other formulations for other
Mhm.
companies if they want to use our tablets
Mhm.
for anything from,
Mhm.
functional to even microdosing.
Mhm.
They're
Mhm.
pretty unique. I'm really
This is
excited that
like pop, pop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is.
yeah. So right when you put it in the water, and the best part, they're shaped as mushrooms.
Oh,
And they come in a little tin. Right when you add it to the water, they dissolve right away. You can shake up your water bottle. It does taste mushroom. It does taste like mushrooms. So if somebody doesn't like the taste of mushrooms, they might not like it. There are
I love
flavors to it.
mushrooms. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not trying to make it taste like Kool-Aid, right? We want it just to be earthy, cool with electrolytes, and this is a mushroom product.
Yeah.
The other,
But I will drink the Kool-Aid.
you will. I'll give you some at the conference. The other big announcement that we haven't made yet, it's taken me years to formulate and develop. I ended up finally finding the perfect person to partner with, which was
Mhm.
Jeff. He also owns Alita Bioscience, which is the only US fungi testing lab. That's
Mm.
all he does is
Mhm.
mushroom testing. And he's an amazing person. But I trusted him enough to say, hey, Jeff, I have this product, this formulation that I've been working on forever. I need someone else to help me bring this to reality. So over the last year, we've been very dedicated working on it. And we at supply side, and this year, we are
Mhm.
announcing the first ever mushroom made whole food organic capsule, empty shell. So right now, there's only really one big organic supplier of capsules, and they're tapioca. Well, our mushrooms capsules are actually made from mushrooms, fruiting bodies. We
Mm.
have added some pure mycelium as well to form, but it's 100% fruiting body capsules that is also considered a food grade capsule, the
Mm.
first of its kind. And we've already got our organic certifications through the state of Utah for our product. So we are now currently building out a facility in Utah to manufacture it here. By the end of the year, we'll be opening it up to the open market. The best part, we're not going to charge a lot for these. We are
Mm.
like right now, organic capsules are pretty expensive. We're going to charge the amount of a non-organic, I would say, crappy capsule. That's like,
Mm.
plastics or whatever.
Mhm.
We want to be very low in price and competitive. So everybody has this option, because a lot of companies can't afford a
Mhm.
capsule that's more
Mhm.
expensive just because it says organic, right?
Mhm.
Especially newer companies. So we want everyone to utilize these capsules, from pharmaceutical to supplements,
Mm.
anything. And again, the best part is it's a
Mm.
mushroom made. It's taken me forever to do this. I think this is like the most exciting thing that's happened for a long time for me. I mean, everything's exciting. Like our US farms are now up and running. We're now doing extraction. We're opening a research center in Washington to now start doing
Mhm.
clinical research on the different compounds of these mushrooms. like cordycepian, betulum, all of that. We want to actually see how it breaks down in our body and works with our cells. I think it's really important. Going back to cancer clinics, we have years of clinical studies from our oncologists with our mushrooms because they've been using it. They've been treating their patients and they call it complementary medicine. And so they've been able to share in confidence. Like I can't see the, actual client, like patient, but they'll show me the markers. And then my psychiatrist that I work with, she is seeing clinicals as well on just like some of my products, like the deep brain to lion's mane, all of that. So those are kind of the biggest things, but the capsules are the biggest right now.
But Jamie, you're really blowing my mind. My mind is exploding in terms of the supply chain integration and the ability to not only go to the farm, but also go to the lab and then also be able to create products that then go ahead and vertically integrate into all of these other potential products that you can also be a part of. So you're really doing some incredible, amazing stuff.
And the best part too is, over the last 7 years, I've never got grants. I've not had investors. I've never taken a loan. I started my company with $10,000 on a credit card. I had no idea what I was doing. And I've been able to basically bootstrap all of this. And now I'm looking back at it going, wow, now we're going into this another era. And now I can turn around and offer people that work for us equity, ownership, making this truly an employee-owned company, and there's another product that I've had for over 7 years that I've worked on that I just don't have time to do it, but I've created the first ever mushroom tablet that you throw in your trash can and it will break down your trash and eat single-use plastic. So and that I need to find a partner that's willing to step up with me. I formulated it already. I already have the prototype. I've done experiments in my own house on different kinds of plastic, including even hemp. So, but the whole point is it will be government subsidized through the recycle program. It will come into a cart with a whole bunch of, little tablets that are shaped as mushrooms, just like my effervescence. But they just scratch it, they throw it in, and it will break down. It has 2 sets of decomposers, but one of the decomposers will eat the plastic, and so once I get more time, and if I can get
we've got to do another podcast because I run a death cafe, and we've got like 350 members in that cafe. And one of the big things that's going around the death cafe right now is natural decomposting. Death decomposting, like when your body, like instead of having just go into the compost. Why do I need to be anything else? And it sounds to me like you've got a natural substance that will help that process because that can take 6 to 8 weeks to go ahead and break down a human body. I hate to get morbid here. I apologize.
No, that's fine.
I think it's amazing to see what the power of mushrooms can be.
And again, I'm a mushroom company. Everything I do that's innovative is mushrooms. I'm not an herb company. I'm not a superfood. I'm not a, protein. I specialize only in 100% mushrooms. So even with my environmental product, the one reason why we've been kind of delayed, I've been delayed on it, is when I first went to the Utah State Department, for recycling and stuff, I asked if I could go out to the landfill and set up studies to see like different piles to see how long it would decompose and break down with these little tablets. They shut me down. They're like, we're not going to do that. It's a liability. And then I found later back in the 90s that a guy did the same thing, but with soil. He was able to prove that soil could break down trash without all this other stuff. And it was the kind of the same thing. And so I had a friend in Alaska that was like, look, just send us the tablets and we will do clinicals for you, the research. And, that is one of my baby projects. I don't even know why I said baby, but it's like one of my exciting projects that I've been holding on to for over, years. And I think once I get everything else dialed in with our brand new manufacturing facility for capsule making of mushroom capsules, our farms are finally up and going. We finally have our extraction going. Once everything is more dialed in, that is going to be my next big project, is jumping into that and bringing on a team to help me with it, because there's some things that I don't know. I mean, I can put things together and I can come up with great ideas and I can try to implement them, but sometimes you need that extra
you always
support.
You need support. And I mean, what incredible work you're doing. And then of course, going out to Denver and looking at this mushroom boom and the mushroom summit. Yeah. And the ability to go ahead and do the integration that you've been doing is absolutely wonderful. I'm really looking forward to learning more. I feel like I've had a special class with you, and I know our listeners have as well. But you provide training and programs. You have things that you're doing for the industry, and you're going to be in Denver. How do people find out more about what you're up to and about your company and about your work and maybe even investor opportunities with you?
Yeah, so the best I think action would be my website, just WholeSunWellness.com. I'm not really big in marketing and social media, so it's like my Instagram page is nothing, right? LinkedIn is a good place to find me, but it's under my name, not my business, JME Bonfiglio. But I always tell people, go to my website, because if they're really interested in like jumping on the phone or they have questions, I answer everything that comes through my website. I'm really big on customer relationships. I mean, I have a team that would do it for me, but I won't let them. Like, I want to be able to talk to the people reaching out, so they can contact me directly through my website. They could also just go to WholeSun Wellness at Gmail, connect with me that way. At the Mushroom Summit, I will be a speaker. I believe it's the 19th that I'm talking about navigating the supply chain, quality, and all that. And then I will be there on the psychedelic side. So I'll be there the whole time. We will have a booth on the psychedelic side. I believe it's booth number 1033. And we will be basically there just more educating on our U.S. farms and our extraction. And we'll also talk about our global farms. We're using this opportunity to be more focused as a supplier and also as a lab. Because again, my partner, Jeff, which also is going to be speaking at the Mushroom Summit on the testing panel, he is the only true 100% U.S. mushroom focused lab. We do not test anything else in that lab. He tests almost 70% of most of my competitors on the market, which, that's what it is. It's fine. It's like, I look at competitors as allies. I mean, I'm not the type of company. I mean, I've never started all of this to be monopolizing and being an empire. I have a passion for mushrooms and a change, and to have something good come from it, not just environmentally, but physically, mentally. I want to collaborate. I want to have partners and like all these great opportunities. I don't want to sit on the top and have puppets. Does that make sense? Like,
makes total sense. I mean, you actually espouse the theos of mycelium itself, right? I mean,
the network.
The network, the ability to network. So that's beautiful. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you at the Mushroom Summit, and certainly you're going to be downstairs at the convention center for first couple of days, and I hope to be able to share a tea or a drink with you, or just to toast you and say thank you so much for all of the important work that you're doing. I mean, it's really amazing. And I know that we're going to have more conversations as we go forward, but I want to thank you for the work you do and for being a part of the Mindfulness Experience. Any words, parting words that you might want to leave the audience with? Just
eat mushrooms, take mushrooms, I feel like embrace this medicine regardless of what you're using it for, but also educate yourself, make sure that you're becoming more connected to the things that you're putting in your body, because I feel like here nowadays a lot of people are so disconnected that they don't even know half the time where their food is coming from. So just be more aware, and supporting mushrooms and supporting all these other movements, I think, is very beneficial to our planet, because it truly can save the world environmentally and also physically. Happy people are better people. They make better choices. So yeah, and definitely if you're there, come by our booth. I mean, I just love talking. So
yeah, well, and you're definitely my favorite mushroom geek. So thank you
thank
very
you,
much.
with my big glasses.
Thank you very much for being who you are. That's WholeSun Wellness, and we will see you at the Psychedelic Science 2023 convention. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the Mindfulness Experience podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. We have other exciting guests coming up in the next few weeks, so stay tuned. For more mindfulness tips and tricks, visit our website at workmindfulness.com. Thanks again for being a part of the Mindfulness Experience. This is Keith Fivesen.